Fantastic. And then so Nan Card, since we have
Yes.
two Nans on the call, Nan Card,
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you.
So I'm really excited about this. So how did you get to, I know you said that your grandmother first taught you needlework.
Oh yeah.
What did your mother not do needlework, or?
Not particularly, because she worked. She was
Okay.
a secretary, and then she worked for the let me see if I get myself.
Can you find yourself?
I'm trying to oh, now I can see myself. Okay. Yeah, she didn't do much because she worked and she knitted doll clothes for us. That was fun.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, but otherwise, no, she didn't do much in the way of embroidery.
Okay.
She did a little cross stitch occasionally, but she wasn't real dedicated to it.
Okay. So your grandmother's the one who started you.
Yeah.
And then you said you got interested in beadwork in college. What drew you to
it was jewelry. There was a store in I went to BYU.
Okay.
Where I was not a member of the popular religion on campus, so it was a very interesting experience.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I wanted to study archaeology, and their tuition prices were very good. If I could have afforded the University of Arizona, I may have gone there, but I ended up at BYU instead. And it was a good program. And I got a degree, so what the heck. But there was a jewelry store in town that was sort of a bead store, jewelry store. They had a lot of findings and such, and I puttered around with things there, but I never really got into beading until my sister wanted something made. She had a friend when I graduated from college. My parents were in Okinawa. My sister was there too, and so I went back to Okinawa. You know, back home was wherever Dad was stationed, right?
Okay.
So I went to Okinawa after college, and my sister saw this necklace that a friend of hers was wearing. She had gotten it in Africa, and she said, "Oh, you could make me something like that." So she said, well, we saw her in the PX one day, and she said, "Oh, I'm going to go talk to her, and you just study that necklace." So I did. I just stood there staring at the necklace. I don't know what she thought about that, but this was the result of it.
Oh, cool.
It's an African design, very simple, you know, a couple of triangles and a border and minimal beads on the bottom, little fringe. But that was the way the original looked, was this minimal fringe. And so I made my sister one, and I made another one. And so it went from there. And I knew nothing about beading stitches. I think I used sewing thread for this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Didn't get it all by hand? You didn't use a loom?
Yes, I'd used needle and thread, and I kind of independently invented the square stitch, because that's what it is. The beads are sitting on top of each other. It's not peyote where they're offset. And then I did the neck chain, and I did increases and decreases. I don't know how I did it, but that's the way it came out. And it's really quite nice, but it should have been, see, this is the reflection of who I am. A necklace like this should be done in all opaque, solid opaque colors. It should have been yellow rather than gold. It should have been red. It's kind of an orangish red, and the green, but they should have been opaque, solid beads without any sheen on them at all, just plain beads. But of course, these are gold, and they sparkle because that's me. So these were the beads I chose, which are not very Africa at all, but this was the first kind of serious beaded piece I did. Just, you know, by the by the skin of my teeth, you know?
And was your sister happy with it?
Oh, she loved it.
Okay.
And then she wanted one in pink and white with blue beads in the center. And she chose the beads. And the pink and the white, you just can't put those two together. But the white would have been the background where the gold is, and the pink where the red is.
Mhm.
It's not enough contrast. And then the blue beads that she wanted for the green part
Mhm.
were the next size larger. They're like
Oh,
size 8 beads. And we know how those go together with size 11s. So it was kind of a strange looking necklace, but yeah, what did I know about different sizes and how they work together? I thought maybe one size 8 would do for the same space that two size 11s would take. No, it doesn't work that way.
oh my.
I know. So then I moved to Virginia after, well, I had been in Flagstaff. I don't think I did much beading there. Um, yeah, I didn't do much beading there. We got to Virginia and I started to get into it a little more. And then I found a teacher. Her name was Carol Holmes. She was a violinist with the Fairfax City Symphony
Mhm.
Orchestra. And she did beading on the side, and then she did enough that she decided she wanted to sell it. And she joined a sort of artist co-op in Occoquan, the town of Occoquan, which was real near me. And so I started taking classes from her. And they were just simple bracelets and earrings. But the one thing I really learned was the spiral stitch.
Mhm.
And then my sister decided she wanted a necklace done with a particular stone she had bought in cabochon. And she even, which knowing that I had no idea what I was doing, she bought me a book called Beading with Cabochons.
Well, that was nice of her.
It was very nice of her. So, so she got me this book, and I called Carol and I said, well, I've got this stone and I've got this book and I don't quite know what to do. And she said, I haven't done that, but I'd really like to know. And you say you've got a book? I said, yes. So she came over one day, I think it was the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday in January, because my sister's birthday is in January. And so she and I just stumbled our way through it. But that's the best way to learn is I stumble my way through stuff. And this was the necklace.
Oh, that's a beautiful
Oh,
stone.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
And I found blue beads to match it. I think it's the same kind of stone. I don't remember what kind of stone it is. It looks like a sort of jasper. But then I had a strand of the brown stones are smoky topaz from Korea that my mother had and had given my sister. And so I took it apart and used that. And then I found the sort of sparkly silver beads. And I made this necklace for her.
Very cool. Your sister's
This
lucky.
was, this was my first experience with bead embroidery.
So what's the difference and why did you call it bead embroidery?
Because this is bead weaving. It's where the beads support each other and there's no backing.
Okay.
And bead embroidery is when the beads do not necessarily support each other and they're on a backing.
Okay. I haven't done much beading, so
Yeah,
learning
that's the
something new.
difference. That's
Okay.
the difference. So I started doing a little bit of bead embroidery, but not much. And then my sister, again, she keeps wanting this stuff. We went to Australia when we retired. We both retired on the same day, September 30th, 2011. And after we retired, we took a big trip to Australia.
Mhm.
We sailed from, it was on a cruise with Holland America, and we sailed from San Diego to Australia across the Pacific.
Wow.
And then the ship circumnavigated Australia with a stop up in Indonesia because there's nothing in northern Australia to speak of, except the city of Darwin.
Uh-huh.
And then it went down the west coast and it stopped in Fremantle, which is also near Perth. And we took this dedicated little train line that went between Fremantle and Perth and spent the day in Perth one day. And then we came back and spent some time just walking around Fremantle. It was a nice little town. And she found a jewelry store that had a unique kind of stone. An artist took a nice opal and had it put into a pearl oyster and let the nacre build on it. And then when he got it out of the oyster, he buffed it down to reveal the opal inside the pearl. And she couldn't resist, so she didn't. She bought it. And she bought a couple of smaller oval boulder opals, similar to the opal that's in the pearl. And then she wanted me to do a pendant for her. And I said, I don't feel confident enough to do it yet. I've got to take more bead embroidery classes.
Mm-hmm.
So along the way, I took a class from Carolyn Sherman.
No, Carolyn.
Yeah, Carolyn. And she did, she has this box top called the Garden.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I made.
Wow.
Lots of interesting techniques.
Like a geode rock in there too. How cool.
Oh yeah. There's a geode here and another little geode up here. And then various, what else have I got in here? Various little, there's a little turtle in the middle.
Oh, cool.
Right here, a little turtle. It's a little ceramic turtle. That was, she had a kit of some various kinds of beads and like leaf beads and flower beads and other things like that she provided. And then we took that and ran with it. I particularly like this spiral motif here. That's a very interesting way of doing a motif. The way it spirals, it's different.
Very cool.
And but with bead embroidery, it's just you have to just go with it. Even though you start with an idea like a garden, and I always found it's hard to describe this. I've always found bead embroidery hard to do because there are no rules and there's no such thing as a pattern. You just do it. And I read an article in one of the, I don't know if it was in Beading magazine or if it was in Needle Arts magazine, where a bead embroidery teacher said, just start beading. If you don't know what to do, just pick up your beads and start putting them down on your surface, and the beads will tell you where to go. So that's what I did. That's how I got stuck on this box for a while because I didn't know what to do. And I read that and I said, okay, I'm going back to the box and I'm going to start just doing it. And that's how I finished it. And after that, I got more confident with it. So when I finally got confident, it was like 5 years after I did the box. Yeah. Then the retreat in Taos was held, and I decided I'm ready to do the opal pearl, and that's what I worked on. I took the bead studio with Leah Reddy, and so I worked on the opal pearl, and finally got it done.
Wow.
And that's it. This is the opal pearl right here. And then these are the two boulder opals. Originally, we were thinking I'd make earrings out of that, but she said she already had plenty of earrings and she didn't need earrings anymore. So I worked them into the design.
Very cool.
And the beads really did just do what they wanted to do. I have very small pearls, really small seed pearls here. And then turquoise he, she here.
Okay.
around here.
Uh-huh.
And then I found other beads in Taos, like these larger pearls here and the pearls I used on the fringe, the little bit of fringe. So that was very interesting doing that.
Very pretty.
It's really unique. It's a unique stone. And it came out nice, even if I must say so myself.
It's fine. The other follow.
Somebody,
Okay. Yep, we're good.
okay. So another thing we talked about that was in my this introduction you sent out
Uh-huh.
was that I learned French beading. I hadn't heard of French beading until I was in Virginia and I went to a craft show and I saw these two ladies who were doing French beading and they did wonderful things. And we bought some of their beads. And then I went to an antique show and I saw an old piece of French beading. It was so old, it was just absolutely caked with dust. I had to take it home, take the whole thing apart, wash it, and then put it all back together again. So
Wow.
I'll see. You can see it's at the top of my bookcase here. Okay, you see the two Japanese dolls?
Uh-huh.
And that piece in between is all French beading flowers,
Wow.
wire beading. And it came in that little holder too. Like
Yeah.
it's like a little planter.
Little planter.
Yeah. So
Excuse me, what is French beading?
you take wire,
Yeah,
a long wire, and you just curve the end of the wire.
yeah.
And then you put beads. I've got this ceramic jar top that I use that spins really nicely on a flat surface. And I just filled it with beads and I curved my wire and I spun the jar top and the beads go on the wire and they crawl their way up the wire because you've got to have like hundreds of beads on to do a project. But you've got to get them on the wire first. And then you close off the end of the wire where you put the beads on, and then you start manipulating the wire.
All
So
right.
what that means is, you can see that this is all, each of these petals are one wire with about 200 beads on them.
I have a beading gadget that you put your beads in. It's like a bowl, and it's
Yeah.
got something and you
Yeah,
swirl
some
it
of them are
around.
electric. There are some electric ones. But there was a woman in the bead society. I belong to 3 different bead clubs. I have the Alegria Bead Club, which is where I live. It's the Dale Webb community in Bernalillo.
Yeah.
And then I belong to the Bead Society of New Mexico. And then the EGA, our EGA chapter has a bead group. So this was a project by the Bead Society. We had one woman who was an expert at French wire beading. And she directed us in how to make these flowers, the yucca flower, the state flower of New Mexico, because we're doing a specific project for charity auction to raise, as an outreach,
Mm-hmm.
and to raise money for a particular charity. And there was a a particular auction of a particular group and choose a theme every year. One year it was trees and they provided trees and then different organizations decorated the trees and we chose silver and turquoise and did that. Another year it was shovels. So you could take a shovel and decorate it. Well, this is what the Bead Society did.
Oh, with the shovel.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that is so
So
cool.
the bottom of the shovel is covered with beads. It's just encrusted with beads. I think Jessica must have covered the whole thing with glue and then just threw beads at it. But it looks like sand. And then she did all of the leaves and she painted the handle in an ombre, and then members did these flowers, did the young flowers. And I did 4 or 5 of them and I held one back so I'd know what it looks like. And it's got a center in it with a bead and then the little stamens in there.
Uh-huh.
See that better. So it's got the center and then it's got the wire petals around it. So that was interesting. I like taking classes that will show me a technique I've never done before. I
Yeah.
may never do anything like this again, but I know how it's made, and so I have an appreciation for it. It's
Yeah.
like polymer. I've taken 2 or 3 polymer clay classes, and I'm never going to get into it on my own, where I'm going to do a lot of polymer clay on my own. But I like knowing what the technique is. I also took a class in bead making, lamp glass bead making,
Oh,
just
that
so I
must
know
be
how it's
fun.
done. And gosh, it's different.
Nan,
It's different. Yes.
Nan, this is Kathleen.
Uh-huh.
Didn't y'all display those pieces down at the South Broadway Library a couple of years ago?
They did. Yeah. Yeah. The Bead Society does an exhibit there sometimes. They did an exhibit at the airport as well. You know, those 3 big cases that when you come in from the garage and then go up. Yeah, there's those 3 big cases. We had a big exhibit there. Matter of fact, this picture is from that exhibit. It's just one section that I took a picture that really showed the shovel very well. You see this it's like a bolo tie. That's my piece.
Oh, cool.
That's a piece I did. I have my box of goodies here. Oh, yeah. I have there's this one box I bought at Michael's of all my beading. So this is that necklace.
Oh, wow.
And it's this newer technique in doing a tubular peyote, but it's a different kind of technique in making it. But this was
Kinda
taught
twisted.
by Bonnie Vigil at Jerome's, a few of my favorite beads. So I took this class from her.
Is that a beaded flower with all the different pieces on the front, or is it a solid?
Yeah, it's a
Bead.
slide. I'll show you the back of it. So it goes up and down like a bolo.
Okay.
So when you put it on, you just put it over your head because there's no clasp.
Uh-huh.
And then you raise this up to wherever you want the length to be and how long you want your dangles to be. And then the dangles at the bottom are leaf motifs. They're all little leaves.
Oh, cool.
Are they leaf beads, or are they
No, they're
leaves
beaded
made
leaves.
out of beads?
They're beaded leaves. Let me see if I
Yeah.
can.
Oh,
Here.
okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to do that?
The necklace seemed to go on forever. The neck chain, because it's from here all the way around to the bottom. And then you've got to put the bead slide on before you do the dangles, or you'll never get them on. And then you do this sort of cuff around it
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
to end it. And so you once you've got the slide on and you've done the bottom bits, you can never take the slide off again. It'll never get over those cuffs.
No.
So
How
it's
you
never
wanna
going
use
to
it.
fall off. And
so you better make it the right length.
so you better make it the length you want and everything else. And then you put this on, but it moves very easily. It just, it just
So you
moves very
can shorten
easily.
it, but
Up
then
and
you have
down
to
the
tassel.
up and down the neck chain.
Mm. Is there
So that's
anything
fun.
inside of that? Did you use a, I don't know.
You mean in
like-
here?
Mhm.
Yeah.
No,
inside
there's
of
nothing in here. It's not so thick that
Oh.
it falls apart. And it's the way it's beaded, I think, that helps it maintain its roundness.
So what kind of beads did you use in it? Did you like use delicas or did you just use seed beads?
These are size 11 seed beads.
Oh,
And it doesn't lay flat. Everybody else is laid flat, and I think I might have had like maybe slightly different size. I mean, they're all 11s, but I don't know. I never could get it
Well-
to be absolutely
if
straight.
they're the check beads, then they are all different sizes.
They
the
can
only-
be, even though
yeah.
they're all 11s, they can be different sizes.
Yeah.
I
The
like
only
the
ones
twist
that are consistently the size you buy is the Japanese ones.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, I think I had two different kinds of manufacturers. And that may
Well,
have been
that
it.
too.
So I started teaching when I learned something, and then a different group wanted to know how to do it. Then that's when I started teaching. And I don't really teach, most teachers have designs. Excuse me, this has gone a little wonky. Can't have that. Most teachers do a design and then have a class on the design. I teach technique.
Okay.
So I learn a technique, learn it and then teach it.
Okay.
So I really teach technique rather than a set designed piece.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
So I started, and I make my own
Instructions?
instructions. Yeah. Let me get a sample out here.
I used to belong to the beading group, but I got too many other things.
So these,
Trudy knows.
I do drawings, and I write out what the thing is. This is for sparkly wheels, and I love these things. I've got almost 50 of them,
Oh, wow.
and they're made with, it's just bicones, 4mm bicones and size 11 seed beads.
Oh,
And they're really easy. I have photographs that I attach, and then the written word, and then the drawing.
Okay.
Because I'm a visual learner myself. I will look at the pictures before I'll read
Read the
the
instructions.
narrative.
Okay.
So I do both because some people like to read the narrative. Some people like to look at the pictures. Okay, that's fine. So that's what I started doing. I'd learned something from the bead group here in Alegria, and then I'd go to the bead group, the EGA bead group, and they'd say, "Oh, how do you do that?" So then I'd teach it, and so yeah, that's how I got into teaching.
Okay.
where do you get your beads from?
Hmm?
Do you get your beads from certain places?
We used to have some really good bead stores here in Albuquerque. And
Yeah.
as owners got older and they wanted to retire, they couldn't find somebody to buy the bead store from them. And so they just went out of business. We have a couple of really good bead stores left. That's the Beaded Iris, and then Jerome's a few of my favorite beads. And otherwise, I have to do my shopping online.
Oh,
Okay.
I like to feel things before I buy it.
Oh, I know. I like to look at them. I like to look at the colors and look at them side by side. And
Yeah.
that's hard. You can't do that online.
No.
You have to really know what you want before you go online.
And then you probably never get the color that you think you're ordering.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's always a challenge. So I started doing, let's see, I did a little bit of bead embroidery in Virginia because the American Needlepoint Northern Virginia chapter, my sister was a member of that, and Joyce Lakumsky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember Joyce?
Yes, I
Yeah,
have her purse that I'm working on.
She taught an amulet bag class there, and there was a couple of styles. So I did one style, my sister did the other style, and that was good. And then when we retired in 2011, we were finally able to go to the Callaway School of Needle Arts.
Ah,
Oh, I know.
they
Callaway,
still-
while it lasted.
Oh,
It was
because
still
they
in
don't
its
have
heyday in 2012. And
They
Joyce
have-
Makomsky was teaching a class there of a necklace she called Cascading Grace. And it is, oh, it's really something. This is Cascading Grace.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that
Wow.
one? It's all peyote. It's all peyote stitch.
wow.
I'll bring my piece in. It's 3 pieces.
Wow. Yeah, so I did this, and it's got kind of these buds on top, and then these open flowers. On the back side, it's got these little loops for the neck chain to go on. And then it's got a couple of pin backs too, because as you're wearing it, you want it to stay to the side like this.
And it would slide.
And it would end up like this.
Well, yeah.
So it's handy to have the pin backs, and you can take the necklace off and just wear the pin. Like Joyce was fond of things going over her shoulder.
Oh, that's so cool looking.
Like that, yeah. And then when I got home, I went on and I made, once I knew how to do peyote, I made the bracelet to go with it.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And then I went on and made a ring and earrings from a technique I learned how to do at the bead group in Alegria. So I just have this bead. It's one of these sparkly beads that you buy at Michael's.
Uh-huh.
And then I did this kind of diagonal peyote stitch around it.
Very cool.
And the earrings are very similar.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got this whole set. So that was cool. I really enjoyed Callaway.
I bet.
Really bummed when it went belly up.
Yeah.
But alas, oh well. So another thing is my sister had me for my birthday one year. She saw the EGA Extended Learning Program class with Sherry Serafini in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So we went there and I took his class from Sherry Serafini, and it was written up in Needle Arts.
Oh, I remember that one on the cover.
Of June 2016. Yeah, this is Sutash. That's interesting. And so Jean Nilsson wrote an article, 2 pages, called Beading with Sherry Serafini. And then on the other side are these 2 bracelets that were finished while the class was ongoing. And so she took pictures of them. And this one is mine.
Oh, how cool.
So this is the one I made.
Is that with shibori?
It is, yeah, shibori. It's shibori fabric. That's this pink and yellow. All this here. It was part of the point of taking this class was working with shibori. So it was, again, a new technique for me. I got this glass cabochon at a local craft fair about the time of the state fair. Mama's Minerals, whose store was originally on San Pedro Avenue, on the way to the state fair, they would have they had this big sidewalk craft show. And I found this piece of glass at that craft fair. And it's a gorgeous piece of glass. And so I started with that. And then I found the shibori at Poppy Fields bead store, which has since gone out of business.
Hmm.
And so
Cool. Very cool.
this is what I did. That, and there were two things in the class, because it was like 4 days, I think. And it was the bracelet. And then after I got home, I did this little purse.
Oh, wow.
Again, with the shibori fabric, as you can see here.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I didn't have to do that because, hey, the flap goes over it. And then I took 3 colors of seed beads that I was using in the thing, the you know, otherwise in the purse, and braided them for the little chain to hold on to.
Very cool. Nice.
So that, again, this was a little more experience with bead embroidery before I took on the opal pearl.
Ah,
So that was fun. Hmm.
This is the Joyce Lukomsky piece that I'm working on. You've probably seen it, the upper bag.
Oh, yeah. I have a couple of at least one kit that I bought from her that I haven't done yet. It's another
Really, I tried to
Asian
buy some more kits, but she wouldn't sell them.
thing. Well, and then I've met a couple of really good teachers here. Leah Reddy lives in Albuquerque, and she did a week's worth of classes at the last Callaway that was held.
ah,
She was a teacher. And then we've had her teaching, let's see, the Bead Society has had her teach, and our EGA chapter has had her teach. And one thing she taught was a doll class. And so this is my doll,
That's
oh,
fun.
my little mermaid. I have real shells for her bra and pearls on her dress and beads for at her tail, but with a seaweed motif.
Hmm.
But the best part of her is her hair. It's 7 different shades of orange and yellow, and then pearls and coral worked into it.
wow. So how long did it take to finish her?
Oh gosh, a while. I worked mainly on the body, the upper body part, the arms, and the head in class, and then I did the hair. So I did all that first, and then it took me a little while to decide just how I wanted to do the dress part and the lower part. But I did have a lot of these freshwater pearls, and so I used those and tried to get everything to go with the hair, because the hair, it was all about the hair. Like most of us, it's all about the hair.
Of course.
So that's the first time I ever did a doll. And this is more bead embroidery because it's on, you got to make the doll first.
Oh, okay.
And Carolyn Bivens makes wonderful dolls, may I say. And so I finally found a stand that's tall enough for her,
Oh,
so I can display her,
good way to display her.
really.
So what's your favorite technique out of all these that you've shown us? The bead embroidery or the cabochon or the peyote or bead weaving or
Yeah.
French wire? What would you say?
About what?
what your favorite technique is. Do you
I
have one?
think it's bead weaving. I think it's bead weaving. This is the latest piece I've made. Now, you know that Bead and Button magazine went out of business. Where's that Bead and Button magazine?
I didn't know that.
Anyway, oh, I know, and I think it's, well, anyway. The last Bead and Button magazine had this wonderful necklace on it. That was beaded beads.
Mhm.
And I saw that and I thought, I just have to do it. So this is the beaded beads. They are crescent beads. There's 10 of them. And they're just interspersed with size 11 beads. It's really easy.
Hmm.
And then you do these gold rings. And they're just rings. It's just a circle of gold beads
Mhm.
to intersperse with them, which gives them a sort of cloth that's been poofed out look.
Yeah.
When you put the whole thing together. And then you make this necklace. This is a 4-bead peyote, tubular peyote. And it goes through all the beads. And that's what holds the necklace together. These have been slid onto this neck chain after I finished it and before I put the clasp on.
Okay. So
And
they
it's embarrassingly easy to do this.
don't tell anyone.
And since I did this, I saw it in Bead and Button magazine, and then I was looking at 3 other websites, beading websites, and I saw the same thing on 3 different websites without even looking for it. If I looked for it, I would probably find a lot more sources that have this exact same design.
Hmm.
The only difference, one of them used like 6mm bicones between the beaded beads here, the crescent beads. But I don't think that looks very good. And I didn't like the way, I don't like the way that comes out because it just looks better with the division, the beaded rings.
Yeah.
And it gives it this poofy fabric look to it. And my favorite is always the one I just made, the last one I made. So this is my favorite right now because I just finished it before too long ago. And the necklace I'm wearing are dagger beads that I got out of Diane Fitzgerald's favorite beading projects. And this is that necklace. She calls it sea anemone.
Okay.
It certainly makes sense for the type of beads she used. But I happen to have had these dagger beads, with the spots on them.
Hmm.
And so, and she made a neck chain out of, she made it herself. It's a fabric neck chain that she made, and then she put the beads on it. But I just went ahead and beaded a chain, and then I just sewed the flowers on. I made the flowers separately, sewed them on, and then I've got these little green leaf beads
Oh yeah.
that I put on there as well for a little more interest with the flowers. But these isn't that a cute look? But you can see they've got these little dots on them. It's like they're kind of polka dot.
Yeah.
And for a challenge one year, the Bead Society said, do Cinderella's lost slipper.
Oh
Where
my.
did Cinderella lose her slipper and what happened to it afterwards? So I decided Cinderella lost her slipper in the garden.
Oh, that's more of the same bead.
And it's the same. See, I made a few of these. Here's 2 more of these flowers. I made a few of these flowers. And then I decided I didn't need them all in this necklace. So I just kept them aside. And then when this challenge came to do this shoe, I used them, one on the toe and then one inside,
Hmm.
along with little leaf beads and this shibori and the dagger beads. So it's a little kitten heel velvet shoe.
Very cute. Very creative.
But I didn't win the challenge. The winner was someone who did something that looked like a wedding slipper. What a cliche.
Man,
Yeah,
man, I want to know where the other half of that pair of shoes is.
I decided I wasn't going to decorate a second shoe. So I threw it away. I knew I was never going to wear these shoes again, which is why I chose this one for my project. And I
Uh-huh.
only needed one. And I didn't need the other one. What am I going to do? Wear one, green shoe. Decorated, one decorated like this and one not. So what the heck?
Very creative.
Well, it's interesting, the various things that I make because there's a challenge, or I take a class because it looks interesting. It's a technique I want to learn. It's a technique I'd like to just acquaint myself with, but never do again. Like lamp glass bead making. That was a big challenge, but it was fun while it lasted.
Mhm.
Fortunately, the teacher that came could only stay for 2 days. And so she didn't really teach us very much. And then we went to metalwork to work on our beads and make necklaces out of our beads. This is what I made. And it's a little wonky, but these are my beads. I made this bead, and I made this bead and this bead and this bead and the 3 beads on the other side. So I made these beads, and it's just enough so that I know how they're made and I know what the technique is and what goes into it.
Okay,
But I don't think I'll make beads again.
that's okay.
This is a pin I made because it was a week-long class, and we only had 2 days to do bead making, and it was supposed to be primarily about lamp glass bead making, and it ended up being more metalwork.
Hmm.
I made this rather modern looking pin, and then I made this bracelet all in metalwork, and that's where I learned that metalwork is interesting, but I don't want to make a habit of it.
Okay. Well, that's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. Yeah,
Like
it's
little time
uh,
intensive.
it just comes up with one piece of wire, and you take a longer piece of wire, you make a V out of it, and then you do the spiral. You put it
Uh-huh.
around something small, and you do a spiral on both sides, and that's one piece. So each of these is a different piece of wire. They're different. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting. It's all interesting. Do I want to get into wire work particularly? No. Nah, not so much. I do a little bit of wire work, and you need to know a little bit of wire work, especially if you're going to do earrings, because sometimes you've got to use a long, sort of like a big pin. It's
Mhm.
got a flat bottom that you can put a bead against and put whatever else you want on it, and then you've got to be able to make it a circle of it to put on your earring
Right, yeah.
binding. Yeah, so that much you really do have to know, but I'm never going to get into metalwork real big.
Okay.
But it's interesting to know.
It's good to know.
It's good to know. It's good to know things. So, I stumble into a lot of crafts I do. It's good to know. Like needlepoint. Well, it's good to know. Do I want to make a habit of it? Not much. My sister thinks I should do more needlepoint because she says, but you lay your threads so beautifully. I think, yeah, so.
Depends on what you
Not
enjoy the
beads.
most.
Not beads. The only thing I've ever designed is I was making instructions for how to do the peyote stitch and start it with using 2 needles. People wanted to know that, especially in the Alegria Bead Club, they wanted to know it. And then the ladies at the EGA bead group wanted to know it. So I designed this bracelet, which is an adaptation of an ancient Ukrainian rose pattern.
Mhm.
Because Ukrainian women make, as part of their hope chest, girls will embroider, they'll make a shirt, like a man's shirt, and then they'll embroider these elaborate roses down the front and sometimes down the sleeves in black and red. And so this was an adaptation of a border piece.
Okay.
And if it were done in Ukrainian way, the roses would be red and then everything else would be black. That's just the traditional way.
Mhm.
But I adapted it to this, and people did it in different colors. One of the ladies was from Alaska, so she did it in blues, and it looked like forget-me-nots,
Hmm.
which is the state flower of Alaska. Yeah, so yeah, this is the only thing I've actually designed. Otherwise, what I teach is the technique for how to make it, how to start peyote using 2 needles, because that's one thing I learned from Joyce Lukomsky in doing the Cascading Grace,
Okay.
because that's how she did it. And it's really easy. Sometimes, especially if you've got a really big project to do, although the leaves in the flowers of Cascading Grace aren't all that big, but to start something like an amulet bag, it's a lot easier to do it in 2 needle peyote.
Hmm.
Try and start with this extremely long ladder,
Mhm.
and then try and do the brick stitch off of it
Okay.
in an amulet bag. That's crazy. I always do that in peyote because that's just me.
Good to know.
I find the brick stitch to be, I don't know, more bothersome than it needs to be, especially when there's peyote to be done.
I haven't done brick stitch, but peyote's rhythmic. So.
Yeah, I have this, and I don't have it with me because it's packed away with the Christmas decorations. But I went to New Zealand on this when we were doing this across the Pacific and around
Mhm.
Australia. We went to New Zealand afterwards and took a Rhodes Scholar trip. It was part land, and then you got on this small ship, and then it went down the east coast of North Island and down to South Island and all the way down to the bottom of New Zealand.
Mhm.
It was an awesome trip. But we went to Napier, New Zealand, and found a needle and beadwork store. And they had this kit of this little Santa's head. And it's so adorable, but the face is in brick stitch. But it's not too big, but God, it's so cute. And I did teach that at my Alegria Bead Club. And I don't think anybody in the club finished it. It's so many different stitches that it seemed daunting on the surface, but you just have to take each section at a time. I made 2 of those, and they're, gosh darn, they're cute. And I've done other dimensional. And I don't have any of them with me because they're all packed away in the Christmas stuff. But I've done other dimensional pieces that are just really cute, and that I learned especially at the Beaded Iris.
Okay. Very cool. Does anyone have any questions for Nan? Let me see if let me take her off spotlight. And if you want to come off mute and ask any questions or anything.
I have a question for Nan.
Okay, Joanna,
You got your degree in archaeology, am I correct?
I did.
Did you have a specialty like in jewelry and
No, it was
beadwork?
Southwest archaeology, which is another reason why I went to BYU, because their focus was Southwest, and one of the professors had done his research in Mexico, but the others, one was an historic archaeologist, one was a classical archaeologist. So it was a good place to go, and they had the field work and field trips that they took from school in the Southwest. So it was right up my alley. And then I got a job at the Museum of Northern Arizona, and I was there for about 3.5 years, where I started working as a contract because they did a lot of contract archaeology. The Salt River Project wanted to build a power plant way out in eastern Arizona, in the middle of nowhere. But they had to have a railroad to haul coal from the Black Mountains down to their power site, because that's how they generated their power. They burned coal, which is another good reason to have it out in the middle of nowhere. And so we did the archaeological mitigation along the right-of-way for the coal haul railroad. And so I was processing all the artifacts that came off of the survey that they did.
Okay.
So I did that for a couple of years, and then I went from the contract side to permanent laboratory technician in the anthropology laboratory. And when I left, we had just opened a complete renovation of the archaeology galleries. And just a couple of years ago, they updated them yet again and redid the whole archaeology galleries again. But it hadn't been done, I think, since the museum was built in the 30s or 40s.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, the dioramas were the big thing. There were a lot of dioramas of like a Pueblo site, for example, or a pit house, that kind of thing. And then my sister moved to Washington, D.C. because it was a good thing for careers for women, especially. And she asked me to join her. And she said, you know, you can always get a job at the Smithsonian. And I said, huh? So I moved out there, and the first thing I did was get a government rating as a clerk typist. It was the easiest job to get anywhere in DC. And then once I got my rating, I was able to apply for jobs, and I got a job in the registrar's office of the National Museum of American History. And I stayed in that office, and I eventually became the assistant registrar for acquisitions. I was in charge of the permanent collections of the permanent records of the collections of the museum and maintaining them. And then the fun part of my job was when the curators collected something new, they'd have to do their acquisition file. And it had to have certain things like the deed of gift, the acknowledgement to the donor, correspondence from the donor. They had to have an accession memorandum that listed all of the objects in the collection. It had to have description, condition, and dimensions. And when they got all of that together, they would give it to me, and then I would review it. And if I didn't like it, they got it back. Like I said, that was the fun part of the job. And people got eventually, I was there for 31 years. So eventually they knew that if they didn't do it right, they were going to get it back, or they were going to hear about it. And if they wanted to avoid all that hassle, they should do their jobs right.
Okay.
Well, you had a meticulous attention to detail, in other words.
I am extremely organized.
And that's why you're good at beading, I'm sure.
I think that's got a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
I think that's got a lot to do with it.
Well, thank you. I was wondering if there was some kind of a relationship between archaeology and beading. Well,
Not at
I
all.
think detail in your case.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have a question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming and listening to me.
Oh,
Anything else from anyone?
Thank you for your presentation. And this was the perfect one to be on Zoom. Can you imagine ladies sitting in a room and you're in the back row trying to look at the little necklace they're holding up? And here you could just get like this. And wow. Exactly.
Yes, it was nice. And you held them so close to the camera and so still. Thank you so much, Nan.
Well, it's because I, as vice president and historian of my chapter, as people are showing their things at show and tell during our monthly meetings, I'm trying to take pictures of them and I say, hold still, hold it back just a little bit more. Okay, stop. Bing. Okay, now you can move.
Yes, she really does do that. And she positions us just so that she can get the right photo.
That's right. I don't want a schlocky history book.
So Nan, this is Kathleen again.
Yes.
Just throwing this out there. What about a region-wide class, Zoom class, doing those sparkly button things?
Oh, the sparkly wheels are wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you have one to show? 'Cause I couldn't tell
Oh,
from
yes,
the
I
picture what they
do.
look like.
Oh,
Trudy, don't you
Cool.
think that would be a terrific idea?
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
okay.
Just
Let me
throwing-
have the
I think we could probably work that out too.
see these? I can't see myself very well. Can I have my view back? Oh, here we go.
There you go.
Okay. See these?
Ooh.
Mm.
Ooh.
Oh, they're wonderful.
Looks like candy in a bag.
Oh my God, it is. It totally is.
Are they addicting?
Totally.
So what do you do with them? They're hollow. Do you string them on a necklace or can you do
I
anything
do.
you want?
I put them on chains, on neck chains that I've made. Like, let's find one. Oh, here, I can put one on here. This is just, does anybody remember the twisted bead fad?
Mm-hmm.
in the
Oh
80s?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Well, I bought tons of these. They called them dyed fossil beads.
Mhm.
They're stone beads, and they can be dyed any imaginable color. I'm just gonna dump a few on here. Here's one that's, New Mexico state colors. And this is what I showed as the a sample of my instructions.
Oh, cool.
that is really interesting.
Yeah, very cool.
There. Oh, it shows pretty well. This is the one, it's just 24 bicones and size 11 beads.
Hmm.
And it's in 3 sections of 8. See if I can hold this up. Oh, that's pretty good. It's in 3 sections of 8. One goes around the top, and then 2 go around the inner side. So this is the top, this is the inner side, and it's the same on the other side.
Okay.
They're called sparkly wheels.
Sparkly wheels.
Yeah, and they're just so easy, and they're small, and I just leave them like this, and I can go with any kind of outfit I want with these things and match them up. And then I make earrings as well. Let me find one of the earrings. Oh, here's a red pair. And you can either try and, here we go. You can either have your bicones and your size 11 beads the same color or as close to the same color as you want, or you can do them in contrasting colors. Like, for example, this that's teal and gold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Nan, every time I wear my sparkly wheels as earrings, somebody always stops me and says, I love your earrings.
Aren't
So
they fun?
It is. a
And they
beautiful-
are, and they look complicated and they sparkle nice because they're bicones. That's why they're called sparkly wheels. And they're just fun. They're just fun.
Okay, well, Ellie, we'll have to work on that.
Yeah, it'd be good. So Nan, what do you think? Like, it'd just be an hour class, right? 1 hour?
Yeah, it takes about 20 minutes to make one of these things. Of course, that's me, and I've made a few, so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've made
For
one
the
or two.
beginners who don't bead much but think it's really cool, I think you might need maybe a little more than an hour. Me, I don't bead very much.
And I want to like send the instructions out to people. Then we could just sit and make them together. I don't copyright any of the instructions I write because I want people to make copies and send them to their friends and teach them at their own bead groups and all that. So I don't copyright them.
Okay,
I just want people to feel free to disseminate the knowledge.
all right.
Okay, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Get
And
that,
people
get
are
that on the
dying to know
calendar,
what to
Ellie.
do now.
I mean, this is one thing I take with me when I travel is my bag full of little wheels, and then I can match any outfit I want to. And I have, kind of longish chains and regular chains and this and a couple of herringbone chains that I take with me. I was just trying to find it here. Oh, here it is. This is a herringbone chain. And we've made this in our EGA bead group. I've taught this before a couple of times.
Huh.
So that's a little thicker. And the beads, the sparkly wheels fit on it very nicely. And sometimes I use just regular chains.
Okay.
Beads.
Questions for
Anything
Nan?
else?
Carolyn, you had your Joyce you were trying to show, didn't you? You're on mute, dear.
Yeah, I dragged it in here.
You dragged it in there?
I left the other piece in the other room that's got all the beads on it.
Oh,
Oh, most of them. I have this one. One piece is finished. Oh, wait a minute, I have to take my background off.
Yeah.
Don't have any heart attacks, ladies.
I finished that bag. I can go get it if you all want to see it completed.
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay, I'll go get it.
Okay.
Maybe if you hold it right in front of your face, Carolyn.
yeah, but I still have background on.
I thought if you held it in front of your face, it would come out of the background. Oh, no, it doesn't. That is weird.
Yeah.
Ooh.
My room is such a disaster. I hate to have everybody see it. I forgot. Well, I thought it was up here. Oh, there it is.
I don't know which parts Carolyn's gotten done, but
Oh, there. Okay. See, this is one.
This is-
Pretty.
Yeah, this is the flap that you do on a loom. And then the fringe is the same shape as the part of the flap is on a diagonal here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the fringe finishes the shape. And
Right.
then underneath the flap is this pattern in, oh, I don't know that anybody's seeing me. They're seeing Carolyn.
No, I see you.
Oh, can you see me?
Yeah.
Well, I can't see what I'm showing. Oh, there it is. And this is done all in beadwork on canvas.
Yeah. I have about
Wow.
5 more hours worth because it takes me an hour to do one line.
And then on the other side is the same pattern done in a versoir with some beads. And then I did, where I put it together here, it's different than Joyce did it. I used the same mix of beads and did a horizontal row across to join it. The inside is all lined in gray, silver looking satin.
Wow.
That's the inside. And then I just use a regular gold mesh chain.
Yeah.
It's not beaded, it's just regular chain.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's a very dramatic bag.
That is.
It's
Did you
really
say that's a
pretty.
Joyce McCluskey piece?
Yes, I took it
Wow.
at the 50th EGA's 50th national seminar.
Were you in the same class as me?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Because that's
And I have one more bag since I was in that drawer. I'll show you. That I haven't shown very many places, but this is these are beaded flowers and flap, and this was it was supposed to be. Let me try to remember. Carolyn Sherman taught it, and it's leaves, and it's then I did the flap in, I think they're size 8 peyote, and it's actually on just a ultra suede, blue ultra suede bag, but that's the flap.
Cool.
Nice. Really nice.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. They sit in a drawer. I don't go out fancy enough anymore.
I'll have to work on that.
Yeah, somebody get something fancy enough that we can use these things.
And what was
I
your,
was going to go. My
How's yours,
granddaughter is
Carolyn?
getting married in April.
Yeah.
I was going to try and fix it for her to use, for her wedding. And then I figured, no, I don't want them to, I don't want to take it away from the bride.
Yeah, it would be so fancy.
Yeah.
Well, they're fun things to be able to do.
But-
And now they sit in drawers.
I know,
Yeah,
I make more things I could possibly wear.
I do too.
My Joyce Lukumsky necklace.
that's
Oh,
really
nice.
cool.
Uh-huh.
oh, that's
Wow.
cool.
And then the neck chain is peyote, but it's got design sections on it. And I did these 2 beaded beads from the same beads that are in the amulet bag.
Right.
But look at all that fringe. She
Yeah.
always believed in copious amounts of fringe. The more, the better.
Have any of you done Ann Paxton's things? I did Joan of Arc by Ann Paxton, and it's a dramatic amulet bag with lots of fringe.
Ooh.
Oh,
But it's buried. I don't know where it is exactly.
I did one of those ones for a seaside piece, and it's all finished except I couldn't decide what to do for the fringe and the part that goes around the necklace part. So it's sitting there.
Yep. Another UFO. Sure, we all have a ton of those.
So I only have to do that one part, and I've been collecting all sorts of seashells to put on it.
Where can we get the pattern for the sparkly wheels?
Yes.
Email me and I'll send it to you.
What is your email?
It's NLCARD at earthlink.net.
So MLCARD at net.
At earthlink.net.
You think maybe you could print them in border to border?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's only 3 pages, but I don't know. Would that?
Oh,
I don't know if that would print up in border to border.
We could get it in border to border. I'm sure. It just depends on if that's what you want to do or if we want to try and have it.
Why don't you make it a petite project for EGA?
That's an idea.
Project. Do you want me to go ahead and send you a copy, Trudy?
Yeah, you can send it to me.
Okay.
Send it to me because I'll get I put her email address in the chat. It's the second one because I can't tell M's from M's. But if you want to send it to me, I can we can send it out and let them know that we're thinking about doing a class if they don't want to attempt it on their own.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really easy. My people say they like my instructions very much because they're easy to understand. So
Well, maybe you could send out a copy to everybody that's attending your meeting, like us.
I can do that. Everybody who signed up for the meeting.
Yes, a little benefit for being part of the meeting. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Trudy would have to send me everybody's address.
Well, you can send it to me and I've got everybody's addresses.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Yeah. And like I said, you can make as many copies as you want. Like I said, I don't copyright anything I do.
That's very generous.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll send a copy to Trudy.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Anything
Right.
else?
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, Nan. This was so much fun.
Good.
Thank you, Nan.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nan.
Thank you so much.
Nan is going to be one of the mentors at the retreat this next fall. So if you need help with those sparkly wheels, you can sign up for the retreat and she'll show you how to do them.
There you go. There you go.
That was shameless, Trudy.
No, I know. No apologies.
My plan is to copy make copies of the instructions and then give one to each of the people in the bead studio along with a sparkly wheel.
That's
Thank you, Nan.
We'll look forward to it.
I don't know how many people have signed up for the bead studio, but there's incentive.
There's incentive.
I love that. Thank you very much. We need incentive. Although we are all anxious to get out of the house and participate in events in person.
I know.
And we can bring all those beautiful bags and go out to dinner at the
That's
retreat.
right.
There we go.
There we go. I don't know if McDonald's will be quite right at McDonald's, but
Something better than McDonald's.
yeah, we'll have to find somebody better. Somebody better.
Well, I get my second shot Friday, so I'm
Congratulations.
looking forward to it.
Oh,
Good for you.
congratulations. I'm
Congratulations.
so jealous. I don't think I'll get mine till the middle of March.
Well,
Yeah.
I got it through the VA. So one of the advantages of being a vet.
Yeah.
I'm not getting the shot.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Nan. This was marvelous.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending.
For doing these.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.